Oh, what a day! What a lovely day!
Welcome to Flat Earth Debate Live. I'm your host, Nathan Oakley, and if you're new to this channel, or you've not done so already, be sure to subscribe and hit the bell notification icon to keep up to date with the Flat Earth Debate. If you'd like to support this channel, there is a super chat that runs alongside each of these shows while they premiere. There's also a PayPal, Patreon and crypto link in the info box below the video. Be sure to join the forum on nathanoakley.com to join the discussion there. Most importantly though, if you would like to join the discussion live, you can click the link in the info box below this video to join the panel and express your views on the shape of the Earth. If you do join, please don't swear. If you do, you'll be ejected, and if you are, please don't try to rejoin the stream using sock accounts. You'll be warmly welcome back on the next stream. Please also share the show on social media. Sharing the show obviously increases the live audience, but this in turn increases the chances of a more diverse panel. So please share the show on Facebook and Twitter. And one last time, if you're new to the channel or you've not done so already, be sure to subscribe and hit the bell notification icon to keep up to date with the Flat Earth Debate, and check out nathanoakley.com to join the forum. Now we are joined by, let's get it in because there's quite a lot of you, Quantum Eraser, Unorthodox, The Plain Truth, Sleeping Warrior, Ranty Flat Earth, Paul, Chocolate Saiyan, and Arwin. Good to have you all.
Yay.
Good day.
What's up?
Good afternoon.
Good morning.
Hello. What?
I don't think we have
Ahoy.
What?
I don't believe we have Quantum Eraser.
We do. You talked over him. Ironically.
As usual. That's all right. Everyone does. Just go ahead.
Let's do some housekeeping. So we've got quite a good diverse panel.
He's on Skype.
Am I the only baller on here? Uh-oh.
Yeah, I was going to say, I was jokingly just saying how diverse the panel was because you're the only baller, but yeah. So any signs of Earth curvature?
Absolutely none.
What are you talking about?
Nope.
Do you think there's any Earth curve or unorthodox?
Absolutely zero.
What are you talking about, Nathan?
Excellent.
A curve to the Earth. We're supposed to live on a sphere according to the current rhetoric, which is accepted by the vast majority of the Western world. It is asserted that we live on a ball hurtling through space. Given that being the case, you would expect to observe Earth curvature at some stage. So,
What?
All the live feeds are fake. All the Soundly photos are fake. It's all fake. I'm with you guys.
what live feeds?
What's
I'm sorry. Oh, hang on. No, that's
Biggest
good.
budget of any agency in the world.
Hold on.
I'm with you.
We're
You
going to
guys
sign a
turn me.
curvature. You're all on mute yesterday when I asked this question. Got Unorthodox actually giving an answer. Apparently, there's live streams of Earth curvature. I've not seen one of these live streams of Earth curve. So where's this exactly?
There's a live stream from the ISS typically.
Oh, didn't you listen to the other? Oh, my bad. I'm sorry to break this to you. The region that they're broadcasting from's fake. Didn't you know? Clearly
Yeah,
not.
totally.
Yeah.
Totally.
Can't possibly have a real live stream from a fake region now, can you?
You can't say there's no proof. There's just you don't like the proof they present.
It's not really a live stream because they have to
Hold on, we've
cut
got
off
two issues.
every now and then.
Proof of what? Proof that they can produce video, or proof that they are in a region that defies the second law of thermodynamics? Which proof of what?
Well, I mean, it matches up with all the weather in the world.
Oh,
we
you
know
are
on the
talking about the
surface. It
video.
all
Oh,
matches
I
up
definitely
perfectly.
know they can produce video, but we can also produce video from Narnia. It just requires that you accept, because I tell you, that we can travel through a wardrobe to get there. Not you. You're not going to travel through that wardrobe. But my priest travels through a wardrobe and comes back with video footage of Narnia. So do you, based on that, accept that we can travel through a wardrobe to a magical land called Narnia, like you can travel into this fake region of space that defies the second law of thermodynamics?
So what are the live correlations with Narnia?
Because it's a fake place that doesn't really exist.
No, the live
that requires.
correlation.
I'm answering you, and you're triggered already. It's a fake place that I'm claiming you can't go to, just like we don't go to space. but my priest can go to Narnia and produce, guess what? Video footage from Narnia. You are saying there's a place that none of us can travel to called space. And
You can go there.
your priests, still triggered, your priests can go up to this fake region and come back with video footage. And it's the equivalent of my video footage from Narnia, having travelled through a magic wardrobe.
Well, first of all, there's not a 24/7 live stream from Narnia, so that's not even
Actually,
close
there is.
to being.
I can set that
example.
up. I can produce that. I can get that sorted.
And there's
so
no
hold on,
real-world
hold
connection.
hold your horses. So, if I produce 24/7 footage from Narnia, actually Scotland, but don't tell him. So, if I produce 24/7 live footage from Narnia, you'll accept that Narnia is real, yeah?
If you produce
Just
24/7,
answer yes or no.
365 footage,
Just
of
answer
Narnia,
yes or no. If I produce
After a
20,
year's
shut up.
time,
Just answer yes or no. If
All
I
right.
produce 24/7 footage from Narnia, you will
24/7,
accept.
365.
Yeah, it'll be all year round, every day, without a single interruption. Not that you've got that standard that you could give us, but I will produce 24/7 footage from Narnia, actually Scotland, for you, and you'll
we'll only
accept.
do it for a couple of hundred
And you'll
thousand
accept that Narnia is real based on that, will you?
If it's got live correlations to our weather and everything else,
Oh
then
no!
yeah.
It's not the
It's
same
not our
realm.
weather. It'll correlate with Narnia's weather, and I'll prove that too because I've got a
Like the
second
live
camera.
footage of the ISS
It's called.
correlates
Hold
with
on,
Earth's
hold on. I've
weather.
got this. I've got this covered. It's called the Himajari. It's a second camera that someone else independently gets footage from Narnia. So I'm going to compare the image from the Himajari with my footage from Narnia that my priest gave me, and the two match, proving Narnia. Do you deny the Himajari that's in Narnia?
Oh, what you're saying isn't true.
It is.
No,
There's
No,
a
there's nothing called a
Himajari.
Himajari.
You need
There is.
to
There's
pay
a
your
Himajari.
Narnia
It's in
tip now.
Narnia. You can't go there to check this, but just accept it. And I'm going to compare the Himajara footage from Narnia with my footage that the priest gave me when he
Unorthodox.
went through the
Are you
magic
saying you're not
wardrobe.
intelligent enough to become an astronaut, Nathan? Is that
Unorthodox.
You're not intelligent
Listen,
enough
I
to
operate
hold
that
on.
Himajari.
Hold on. You're not intelligent enough to know that they're going through the magic wardrobe. What kind of dumbass are you?
Why can't you?
Unorthodox.
Why can't you go to space?
Why can't you go through the
Unorthodox,
magic
listen.
wardrobe?
What?
It doesn't exist.
Why can't you go through the magic wardrobe?
Yeah, but that you can become an astronaut, right? That's
You can
something people do in
become.
society.
Hold on. You can become an elf and go through. You can become a lion.
That's not something
Hey,
people do
can.
in society.
Hold on,
people.
you can become a lion and go into the wardrobe. You can do that. In fact, I don't even think you need to become anything. I've got my rhetoric slightly wrong. So actually, you can just go through as a normal person and just go through the wardrobe. Not you, but the priests that tell us about this.
I'm so confused right now.
Yeah, well, the rockets. Hands up, who's gone to space?
We can get M. Scott.
It's all right, I hadn't quite finished.
Maybe
Hadn't
Dad
quite
can
finished.
come in here
There was something else coming.
and talk.
There was something else coming. Hands up who's been to space. For the audience's benefit, that's
Oh.
nobody. Hands up who's been to Narnia.
Me.
Me,
You're
I've been-
lying. Come on. Hands up who's been to Narnia.
Listen,
Who's been to Narnia?
Unorthodox. I'm the camera operator in that Himajari camera. I operate it. It's real.
Okay, listen, first of all, Anthony, you guys got to get the name right because Nathan said Himajara, and now you're saying Himajari. Which is it?
It depends on your dialect. There is a whole different dialect in Narnia. You wouldn't know. The priests will tell you about it if you learn the religion. you
That
understand the
analogy
dialect
breaks
differences.
down at the point where there's live correlations with weather.
Yeah, but
Okay.
listen. When we did the International Space Station, Jerem went out with a laser and he was trying to interact with it, and it didn't appear on the live feed. So, what's your explanation for that?
Is that a joke?
No, it's absolutely serious. Jerem tried to
good
interact
God.
with the ISS
Sleeping
with a
warrior.
laser, and it didn't work.
First of all, did he have it on an equatorial mount, pointed exactly where the lens is supposed to be?
Do you think you could operate an equatorial mount quick enough to keep up with the International Space Station?
Just got to stop
How
there.
else would you
An
do it?
equatorial
How else
mount.
would you?
Just because
how
you've
else would
mentioned
you
it.
interact
You
with
can do
it?
it freehand.
Hold on, I've just got to get
Oh,
this in.
give me a
An
break.
equatorial
Sleeping Warrior.
mount
You
is...
can't believe that you could actually hit the laser on the head of a camera at the
No,
ISS
just interact
with your
with it
free
whilst
hand.
just interact with it whilst live view is displayed. You should be able to see the blue light flying through the clouds and around it. He doesn't have to hit it. He just needs to be around it, and it didn't interact with it. So your claim that it matches the clouds, I would say, well, real world, we can show that we can't interact with it.
I don't think some low watt blue laser. Was it in the daytime? Was it at nighttime?
It was at nighttime, obviously.
Yeah, I'd have to see the footage and know about how much wattage the laser had.
Oh, right. So when I make a claim, you want to see evidence, but when you make a claim and we ask for evidence and you have none, that's okay for you. But when it's for me,
No, I have evidence.
Oh, really? For what? Gravity,
when
right?
are we going to get to these pictures from Narnia?
Of whatever. I don't just come on here and lollygag around. Usually, I have something concrete or something.
Something concrete. So what have you got for gravity then?
Unorthodox. Tell us more about the monuments to Earth's curvature that they've built all over the place.
No, it's only in Lake
it's
Pontchartrain.
Oh, it's only that one. Oh, okay.
Well, no, there's other places you can see the
Hold on
windmills
a
in
second.
England.
Did you say Lake Choo Choo Train?
Yeah, Lake Pontchartrain.
I like that.
That's what it's called, right?
Poncho, actually.
No, I like Choo Choo Train.
Poncho Choo Choo. I'm just gonna call it something different every time. I mean, I would argue that just look around you guys. You live in a modern society. Like 90% of the stuff that was built using Newtonian mechanics and our understanding of Newtonian gravity. So there's your proof right there. Just look
you're
around.
wrong. It's not actually it was actually built with people and tools and cutting devices and all these jobs. That's what built it. Really, it's the Newtonian mechanics didn't build that. That's the design part of it. It's only a precursor. Actually built it were people and stuff.
That's true. That's true. And the reason it doesn't fall down is because of our understanding.
Understanding of what?
Understanding
Choo-choo trains?
of mechanics and architecture. That's right.
Yes.
Oh boy.
Right.
Profound.
Doesn't
pretty
prove
sad
gravity, though.
argument,
It doesn't
right?
prove it. It's just a
That's
tool.
really deep.
Well,
man.
no, nothing proves anything. It's just a strong connection.
An
Science
aberration.
proves
An
things.
aberration.
Nothing proves anything, right?
No,
That's
right.
profound.
No, it's just
and
the
deep
best
statement.
best approximation.
Science
Sure it
proves
is.
things.
No, not even approximate. It's just a tool. Just a tool.
What is?
Gravity. It's a tool.
Well, no, it's a story.
But it's used as a tool.
Thought it was a
The
method.
measuring tool.
I don't think it's you. You
Helps
can't
it
use a
define
reification
process.
fallacy.
Yeah,
Alan,
how
you
can
can't.
you
You
measure- how
can't
can-
use a
what's a measuring
reification
tool?
fallacy.
You
No,
It doesn't
I'm not
put it in
exist.
your
doing
hand.
that. No, I'm not saying it's proven. I'm just saying it's a tool. It works for the purpose that
It
is
works?
used, but
What
it's not
What-
proven. It's
Alan,
not
it doesn't
real.
exist.
It does as a tool.
It doesn't exist as a tool.
Oh yeah, well tell that to the people that are actually using it as a tool.
No,
Who
they're
are
using
you-
it
who's
only in
using
maths. We've had the conversation
And
about
it's a
maths
tool
before.
as well. What's the
No,
difference?
it's not a
Hold
tool.
on,
A tool
hold
does
on,
something
hold on.
physical,
Finish,
right?
Jack. Sorry
No,
to
a
interrupt
tool
everybody.
is
Hold on one
used.
second. One second. We've got somebody on the panel who I believe has claimed in the past he's used gravity as the tool, utilised it in his daily affairs. That would be unorthodox, correct?
Yes.
You want to tell us about how you utilise gravity, please? Don't interrupt
Used
him.
in the analysis of structures and the materials we use to build them to make sure they don't fall down.
Oh, really? So if you didn't account for gravity, they would fall down. Is that what you're saying?
It is used.
They wouldn't be safe. You wouldn't be able to be sure they are safe through
So
using
safe is
gravity
governed by
and
the
hold on,
gravity,
let me finish.
right?
Let me finish. Hold on, let me finish. So what you do is you basically take a structure to the point of failure and then you build in safety factors. So you can be reasonably sure that the building is not going to fall down.
I
Usually it's
understand.
a threefold
But which
or fourfold.
gravity? Which gravity were you accounting for when you were taking into consideration safety?
Newtonian mechanics.
Newtonian, right? So
Yes.
Newton, Cavendish quantified the strength of gravity against your building. Do you know what the value was?
It depends on the mass.
It doesn't.
It depends on the material. It's
He
a
gave
whole
a
analysis.
ratio. He
It
gave a
uses-
ratio. Unorthodox. He gave a ratio of how strong this so-called force of gravity was, which later got superseded by Einstein's bending of space-time. But if you're accounting for gravity, how strong is it according to Cavendish?
It's 9.8 meters per second squared.
No, it's a 50 millionth of the object's weight. So if you're going to account for a 50 millionth of a building, and you're going to claim that if you didn't get your calculations absolutely spot on to a 50 millionth, the buildings would fall down and they would be deemed unsafe, I'm going to call bullshit.
That's not true at all. That's your
only when you
weight
try
is
to
derived
isolate
from F equals mg. So you also have to know the distances between the objects.
Yeah, but it's still a ratio. You understand what a ratio is, right?
Yeah, but that's not the whole picture.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah, the whole picture's bullshit.
Yeah, actually,
It's
the whole
50
picture
million
is
of
that-
a fairy tale.
I really don't understand your gripe here, right? I mean, it's pretty much fact that Newtonian mechanics and
That's
Newtonian
not-
gravity is used in engineering.
It might be calculated,
tool.
but it's definitely not used.
Okay.
Yeah, it is as a tool.
You
Not
said
used.
pretty much
Yeah,
fact
it is.
Hold
or
on a
fact?
second.
Okay,
It
so
is
calculated.
calculations as a
wait,
tool,
wait.
and that's the
It's
only
calculated.
place it
My
actually
word,
works.
people. Shut
It's calculated only.
Shut up!
It
It's
doesn't matter.
yes, it's calculated, and then you build something based on that calculation. Sleeping
It
warrior.
doesn't make it real though. It just makes it a very useful tool in calculations.
Okay,
That's
well-
exactly what it's used for. Doesn't prove anything.
I'm not saying it proves something. It's just very good evidence for it.
No,
No, it's not.
No, that's a contradiction in one sentence right there.
Do we have to do my ice creams example again?
How is that
I've got a
contradiction?
question for Unorthodox.
Sure.
I would think, or do you think density would have more to play in building of a building than gravity?
Excuse me? Density?
Density. The
I
density
mean,
of an
that's looked at
object.
as well.
I think, but I mean, so you need a beam which is more dense than a piece of wood because it can hold more weight.
Well,
Oh,
I
well,
doubt
you
there's
got
gonna
that.
be people
Muted.
out there willing to use the relative density theory.
Sorry, I've
in
just
place
got
of
to point out.
gravity.
Is it Paul that was just talking? My kids heard your
Yeah.
kid in the background and now come in to communicate with her or him.
Yeah, that was Paul. That was me.
So your kid was making a bit of noise in the background. Mine's just run in. Now I can't hear anything because she's trying to talk to your kid.
I'm sorry.
It's okay. It's fine. It's just funny.
Your kids are talking to each other here?
Yeah, she heard another child in the background and has run in and is now repeating the noises and stuff. It's just sorry. Okay, I'm sorry. I'll
That's
pay you
pretty
more
cute.
attention.
That's pretty cute. But I mean, you definitely look at densities. You look at a lot of different things. You look at strength. A lot of different ways to look at it and analyze
Do you
it.
deny that gravity is calculated as a 50 millionth according to Newton's concept
I
applied
don't know
by?
what you're talking about. A 50 millionth. It's dependent upon r squared and m.
No, it's not.
Those
It's a
two
50
vary.
millionth of an
Sorry,
object's
I'm going to
weight.
interject.
That's what
I
it
don't know what
literally
you're talking
says.
about.
Sorry.
Riley, that's
Bear with me.
based
Bear with me.
the
Bear with me.
attempt to prove
Sorry,
it
bear with
as
me.
a physical
Bear with me.
thing.
Bear with me. That means please stop talking. So can you please just bring up the citation, Anthony, rather than just going around with you verbally describing it to Unorthodox? Can you just tell him with a citation?
Unorthodox, are you challenging the 50 million to 1 ratio?
I said I've never heard that 150 millionth before. I've never
Oh
heard
dear.
that.
And you're a structural engineer and you've not heard of this?
Mechanical engineer. No,
Yeah,
that
mechanical engineer.
ought to tell you something, Riley.
Get him.
Yeah, it does. It tells me that you guys are just not as intelligent as you think you are because you don't understand the concepts in which you claim that you're working out based on. Let me get it. Bear with me.
Get him,
I've
Anthony.
had to come out on the game of Command and Conquer for this, Unorthodox. This
I
better
would
involve a
argue
concession.
that the people
This
in
better
the
involve
field,
a
in the
concession.
industry,
Unorthodox.
there's no concession. I said I've never heard of it.
Okay.
Show us a
What about the
practical
game to
example.
do
You
it?
want.
No, hold on a second. Show us a practical example. Share his
A
screen,
practical
Nathan.
example.
We want to
of
see a
using,
practical example.
gravity and engineering.
Yes.
I don't have any of my textbooks with me right now. I can maybe pull something up. Let me see if
Oh, dude.
In your
Let me pull something
textbook.
up. I can pull something up. Hold
What
up, hold
kind
up.
of
Let me use
engineer
my
are
Google
you?
Drive.
I'm not even an engineer, and I
Do
can
you think
do
I
it.
walk around with textbooks?
I
I'm
didn't
talking
ask
about
you for
example.
an
I'm not just
example.
going to talk about
I asked
example.
you,
I'm going to
I
show
asked
you an
you for a
example.
practical example. I didn't ask you for a textbook.
A practical
Just-
example is just the weight of an object and its strength based on that weight, and you build it into a geometric
deep.
structure.
We
and
want
you
a
look at the
practical
load
example.
at the
Example
center
means
point.
something that you've done, Unorthodox. An
I'm
example
explaining to you
of
something I've
something
done.
that you've done. You're
This
you're
is
giving
something
us
I've
a
done.
definition.
No,
Giving us a definition, Unorthodox.
So-
Okay,
He's not giving a
bear with me,
definition.
Sorry,
He
sorry.
needs
Can I
to
just
show a
break?
practical
Sorry,
example.
sorry. Okay, Anthony, you presented.
Right, so this Unorthodox, can you see my screen now?
Can't see Anthony's screen. Click on him locally in the Hangout. Sorry,
Yeah,
John, you
yeah.
don't get this.
So this is the experiment paper that was submitted to the Royal Society by Henry Cavendish himself back in 1798. And according to him, he's not trying to measure or demonstrate the gravitational pull of mass attracting mass or nonsense like that. He's trying to determine the density of the Earth.
Yes.
Well, basically, as you read through the introduction, you can get to page 2, and at the bottom of page 2, he reads, and I quote, that means verbatim, "As the force with which the balls are attracted by these weights is excessively minute, not more than 1/50 millionth of their weight, it's plain that a very minute disturbing force will be sufficient to destroy the success of the experiment." But he quantifies the force with which the balls are attracted. So if you've got a building that is being attracted to Earth by gravity, it represents not more than a 50 millionth, according to Cavendish.
Anthony,
I'd
that
say
number
that
could
if-
be absolutely anything dependent upon the weight and the distance. That number could have been 1 in 10,000, 1 in 50 billion, 1 in 50 trillion. That number could have been absolutely anything. It depends on the weight of the balls and the distance between them. That
We know
number
how to
it
calculate
tells
it
me
out.
absolutely nothing.
We know the maths. We understand the concept of applying the maths. What I'm pointing out to you is that he claims that the force with which the balls are attracted is 50 million to 1. That's a ratio, right? He
Bear with me a
doesn't
second,
say
Anthony. Sorry.
it's different on all
Sorry,
occasions.
Anthony. Sorry. Hey, Sam. How you doing?
Yo.
You
Well,
hear
we
us?
know the equation for the
Hold
force
on,
he's talking about,
Unorthodox.
Nathan.
God, please. I'm trying to sound check a new guest, please.
He
Just
spoke
give me a
up.
second.
He spoke up.
Hey, Sam. How you doing?
Yeah, Nathan, I'm doing great. Sorry, guys. I don't mean to interrupt.
Whoa.
You sound terrible, but we can hear you.
That's a lot of bass on that.
So unorthodox. The ratio that was given in his paper is 50 million to 1, right?
It means absolutely nothing.
No, that's
Yeah,
what
you
he
got that
quantified.
right. You got that bit right.
Yeah, that's one that's right. So in his paper, in his non-experiment paper, he shows 1/50 millionth to 1. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, 50 millionth to 1. That's the ratio that he gives the value of the force between the masses.
In his non-experiment that the scientific community doesn't follow, that's been superseded by Einsteinian space-time curvature.
So, but John, he said that he calculates for gravity every single day, and I want to know exactly what he's calculating for, because I think it's
what I
nonsense.
asked him for too. I need a practical example. It's fair to ask for a practical example. He said that everyone uses this 90%, or he uses percentages again.
No.
We want to see a practical example. I think that's fair.
Nobody uses it. It's only
You want to hear
it's only used in this silly attempt to prove it scientifically and to tie it to the mass being attracted by mass. And look, the gravity used, the tool of gravity, the mathematical tool of gravity used in architecture has nothing to do with any of that nonsense, these nonsense attempts to try to prove it as a physical thing. Because that's where it totally goes to shit. It becomes nonsensical.
Sounds like Alvin's regressing. I think you might have forgotten some of the principal things that we discussed.
Sorry, one more time.
Yeah, I really
Sam,
don't understand.
Sorry
your
to
point,
interrupt you again.
Warrior.
So,
to be honest with
50
you, I really
million
don't
to 1,
understand.
mate. That's the ratio for the
What
gravitational
you don't know,
force.
you have to connect that back to the radius, and you have to connect it to the masses, or else that number
and
means
he says that
nothing.
the force. He says the force between. He says not the proportionate force. He says the force. If you want to proportionate it, fine, be my guest, but the number will get worse.
Nathan, did he say radius?
Like I said, yes, radius. You have to know the radius and the masses to make sense of that number.
Of course,
To
you
understand
How do you
where
prove
it
the
comes from.
radius?
It doesn't really mean much outside of understand.
How do you prove the radius, unorthodox?
Well, in his experiment, you could easily measure it.
Measure the radius.
Yes, from one ball, the center of one ball to the center of the other, you can measure that radius easily.
So how would you measure the radius in your buildings then?
No,
That's
no,
not
you've
what we're
missed
talking
the
about. We're
connection,
talking about the
Anthony.
radius
Sorry.
in his
Stop.
experiment.
You've missed his connection. I'm backing you here, Unorthodox. Best not interrupt me. So he's saying that the measurement of his ball that he's got in the experiment can then be extrapolated out, right, to a bigger radius, say a planet, something like that, right, Unorthodox? That's the point of the experiment. Quasi-experiment, not an experiment. weighing planets,
No,
isn't
I'm
he?
just saying he doesn't understand where the radius value is coming from in
Yeah,
this
I'm
experiment.
just saying
I'm telling him
he's weighing
the radius
planets.
value
I
in
didn't
this.
say that.
I'm not extrapolating any further.
No, he
Hang on,
did.
I did not say that.
Just let me just say it again, Anthony. The point, the apparatus, its purpose is to give you the weights of things like planets. Correct?
He was getting the density of the Earth.
Right. A presupposed planet, right?
What's that got to do with what we're talking about,
Because
Anthony,
you're saying,
Nathan?
because you also need the radius of any of those planets.
We're talking about the radius for the 1 in 50 millionth.
Right. My point is...
So the radius value in that situation comes from the
I tried
two-lead
to take you
balls.
through the logical steps twice. What's the point of the apparatus? What's he trying to achieve in his quasi-experiment?
I thought that was a rhetorical question.
No, obviously not. Do you want me to repeat the question?
Well, just
Yes,
tell us what you're thinking, Nathan.
I'm
let's
asking
not
you
do,
a question.
questions here.
I'm asking you a question about your circus show sideshow called the Cavendish experiment. What is the point of the apparatus? What is he trying to achieve?
He was trying to get the density of Earth.
So he's trying to weigh the mass of a planet.
He's trying to get the density. That's different.
Okay, I'm not going to try and weasel you into, strong arm into accepting slightly different terms. It's not relevant. So when he extrapolates that out into a planet or Earth, he needs a value. That was rhetorical. Just need you to say yeah.
Yeah.
Nathan, just tell us what you're thinking. I'm not.
Well, it's my next
I have
question.
no
I
idea
think
where
it's
you're going
shit.
with this.
How do you get the radius of Earth?
There's a bunch of different methods, Nathan.
And which one did
Well-
Cavendish use?
I'm not aware of the specific method he used.
You're having
It
a
was common
laugh.
knowledge
That's
in
the
his day.
purpose of the experiment. He's trying to
presupposed
weigh
it.
Earth. You're having. This is let me get this straight. You don't even understand the pseudoscience claims that Cavendish makes.
Honestly, I don't think this guy thinks about this at all until he clicks the link and just joins
Sorry
up
to
and
do
just
you,
sputters
Chocolate.
nonsense.
Sorry,
stuff.
Chocolate. Just let be silence. So you don't understand the actual claims that Cavendish is making when preparing this apparatus for public consumption.
Wake up, Unorthodox. Did you fall asleep?
Hello.
Right, it's a call off
Silence
mute.
is acceptance.
We answered that 5 questions ago, so that wasn't directed
Can
to me.
we-
I answered that like
Can we
3
go back
questions ago.
to
That wasn't directed
Unorthodox made
towards
a
me.
claim?
What was the question?
Unorthodox
Did you really
made a
protest
claim.
with silence
everybody,
then?
it's just Unorthodox. I know you guys can't stand
We just
20.
answered that 2 questions ago. The density of Earth. Why are you repeating yourself?
It's not the question. So you left a long enough gap to think that I'd forget my own question. Where did Cavendish get the radius of Earth?
It was common knowledge through 2
Oh,
different
really?
methods.
Common
Okay.
knowledge. Really?
What's your point? What does it matter?
That it's
What's
a
the
bloody
point?
assumption.
Prove your
Where's
claim.
knowledge coming from then?
Yeah,
Prove your claim, Unorthodox.
From one of 2 different methods.
No, the point is that he assumed the radius like everybody assumes the radius. You assume that A, you're on a sphere, and that B, you've got the radius of that presupposed sphere, and that is
Again,
the
that
value.
has-
Oh, right, now you're triggered. Now you can't shut up.
Go ahead.
You don't need to give me permission to talk. You had 25 seconds that I timed, probably longer, with you off mute, not answering where he got the radius from. It's a presupposed value. It's an assumption. Not only that you have the value of that radius, that the Earth that's being measured is a sphere. That's the point.
That's not what we're talking about. We're talking about gravity as it relates to the two spheres in his setup. We're not talking about whatever you're trying to obscure.
I'll try
to.
it again
Me
for the
and Anthony were
third.
talking
I'll try
about
again.
the
This is
radius
the third
value
time.
in his
Enough
experiment of the two balls.
Arwin, God.
That
Arwin,
calculation is
Arwin,
based on
this is why you
using
get crap in the comments with me having to tell you off. What is he trying to achieve in the test? Is he trying to achieve the mass of balls in the apparatus? No! He's trying to weigh Earth!
It's not what me and Anthony were talking about. Me and Anthony were
really?
talking about the 1 in 50 millionth
that's
ratio.
Right. That's where he gets his quantification. The ratio when making said extrapolation to come to the weight of Earth. Not only Earth, but every other bloody light in the sky that's claimed to be a spherical body of mass so we can travel to. But that horse shit aside, his objective is to weigh Earth. So who gives a crap about the radius of the balls in the test? He's got an extrapolation with a presumption of Earth radius.
Well, who gives a crap? Anthony gives a crap. That's what we're talking about.
Who gives a
Where
crap?
does the 1 in 50 million come from? Where
Sorry,
does the radius value come from?
Remind me the title.
We're not talking about the radius of Earth.
Remind me
We're
the
talking about
title of the
radius
show.
of the
Remind
ball.
me the title of the show, Unorthodox. Who gives a crap? What channel are you on? What are we talking about here? Who gives a crap?
That's
This
not what
isn't
we're
let's
talking
discuss pseudoscience and circus shows. We're talking about the Earth, you muppet.
No, we're talking about the 1 in 50 millionth force he was talking about.
That's
He was
attributable
asking
to
where
Earth
the
being
radius
a
value
sphere.
comes into play.
were
there.
sorry, that's attributable.
We were actually talking about how you calculate for it in your job. That's the context.
Yes.
I'm
trying to
saying
pull
that
something up
50
here. I got a
millionth
little-
wouldn't make any difference about making it safe or making it unsafe. It's not big enough. It's tiny.
Yeah, but Anthony, you can't extrapolate anything from that value unless you relate it back to the R squared value and the masses. That alone by itself, out of context, doesn't mean anything.
Do what you want, mate. Mathematics doesn't prove your point. It's only a 50 millionth. Play around with the maths. Change science. Put it in a paper and make it 25-1. Do what you want. Doesn't prove that you're measuring for something that actually exists, even though you believe that you are.
All you'd have to do is change the radius, make it closer, and make the mass larger. You could get a higher value easily.
Listen to what I just said.
Somebody said
Doing
change
maths
science. You don't
doesn't
have to
prove
change
that
science.
gravity exists. Do you understand?
This isn't science. Yeah, this isn't
I
science.
thought your only
so it
gripe with
doesn't have to
mathematics
change
was
science.
that it was negative values.
Oh my God, this isn't science. You don't have to change science. This is pseudoscience.
Well, I mean, I've only heard his only gripe with mathematics is that negative numbers aren't real. If they're positive numbers and they have a direct correlation with the real world, those are real.
That's
Yeah,
not
correlations
science.
aren't causal.
That's- you didn't listen, John. Then it's not science. Science is trying to establish the cause. All you have with your circus sideshow is a mathematical correlation. Definitely not science. That was John's point. You just ignored it.
I didn't hear him.
Yeah, that's because you don't shut up.
What, kind of like I always wanted to come on and talk about the second law of thermodynamics. That's what I want to talk about.
Okay.
Let's go.
I'm happy for a subject change. Anybody on the panel want to add to the points that have been raised? Because I've cut a lot of people off, including Arwin.
No, I'm just going to get some popcorn.
Well, I wanted to make a few points, but it's just getting
Go ahead.
lost.
We'll move on to the second law in a moment, if that's okay by you. Unorthodox and Arwin's still got unfinished business. You go ahead,
That's
Arwin.
fine with me.
All right. Well, the whole thing about Cavendish is, and what he tried to do is, he assumed R, and he assumed gravity was a force, extrapolating the calculations that it basically is, and that can be used to assume with these elements both that thus a weight of the Earth can be established based on these presuppositions. That's what he did. It doesn't prove anything, and then you can, on these presuppositions combined, you can determine that gravity, if it is existing and if the Earth is a ball, that it must be this ratio. But that's a double presuppositional conclusion. It's useless. Gravity is
Can I
just
show you guys a
calculation tool.
practical example? Are you done, Arwin? Or are you not?
Very well put, Arwin. It's absolutely a double logical fallacy. Well put.
Right. And again, look, there are models out there. I've even seen them being used by architects to calculate the forces on a building. And it applies gravity, and it then shows like, okay, what's going to happen if in this emulation, if there's a certain wind blowing at a certain strength in combination with the assumed gravity force. And all that, there's models with that. And yeah, it works. It really works well. And they have been using that since the computer age. And before that, they actually used hand calculations to try and do that sort of thing. But yeah, it's a tool. It's a calculation tool. It doesn't actually prove gravity to be a real force. It's an aberration. And that aberration can be used in calculus to make things a little easier. But it's not real. It's not.
Do we understand now, Unorthodox? Using calculations doesn't prove gravity, right? Do you understand?
I don't think nothing can prove anything. We can just say, well, it's
no. We can prove things. We can
this.
prove that the cause of things is whatever you manipulate. You can prove cause.
I wouldn't use that word.
Yeah, I know you wouldn't.
That's
but you use dreams.
Science. Let's move on. Let's move past science and let's move to something completely beyond science, which is natural laws. So, right. Second law. Anybody else that had something to add just before we move on? No, Unorthodox. Mike's all yours.
Outside of science? What?
We're talking about natural laws now, aren't we?
This comes from science, Nathan. The second law is
straight
out of science.
No,
man.
I've got to stop you straight away. No, this does not come from science. This is not establishing cause and effect. This is a natural law. It occurs always, cause unknown. It is a natural law. It has not been established through scientific validity. It's just a natural law. Outside of science, like proving the Earth's shape.
That's not true, Nathan.
Absolutely correct. That's not true. Nuh-uh is not going to cut it here. Natural laws do not go through the scientific method. Shut up. Natural laws do not go through the scientific method. Therefore, they have nothing to do with science. They're just whats and is's that always occur and are inviolable.
Yeah. Anything
this is used in thermodynamics. This is a concept born out of science. This is a scientific concept we're talking about.
I'll say it again. It is not a cause and effect relationship. It's not been established through the scientific method. It is simply a natural law that occurs always. It can be defined. That's it. It's not establishing a cause and effect.
Okay, let's just say I go with that. What occurs always?
What, a natural law? Yeah, that's what I declared when we moved on and changed the subject. Yes, we're now not talking science. Law. We're now talking natural laws. Did you actually want to make your point or argue the semantics about what we're discussing? It's definitely not science.
State the natural law.
You said you wanted to talk about the second law of thermodynamics.
I'm saying state it. State what it is.
It's your claim. I want you to establish that you understand it. If you're going to make a claim about it.
Nathan, I wanted to process your understanding because your understanding seems to be wrong.
Oh, really? You want to sit and ad hom me? You want to ad hom me then? So you want to pick apart my understanding? I tell you what, I'll concede then. I'm dumb. I don't understand it.
Yeah, maybe you can tell me. You don't want to go through it, right?
No,
you won't
I'm too dumb.
I can tell you what it is.
I'm telling you, I'm too dumb. Really? Too dumb. Too dumb. Educate me, I'm too dumb.
Saying something that's unequivocally not true.
Yeah, too dumb.
We asked you to state it, and you refused. What is wrong with you?
I want to talk about specifically his understanding of it and what was so blatantly wrong with it.
That's what I said.
The reason I want to talk about it was because he says that
so you want to ad hom me. So you want to attack me. So you want to attack me and my understanding. Ad hom. So you want to apply logical fallacy to me personally. No. If you've got something to say about the second,
it's been wrong, Nathan.
If you have something to say about the second law of thermodynamics, go ahead. Critiquing my understanding of it, I don't care. That doesn't prove or disprove space, for example. So what have you got? An attack for me? Oh, sod off then. I don't care.
Everything
done.
you've said
I've
in
conceded.
the past about the
I've
second law
conceded.
of thermodynamics is not
I've
true. You've always
conceded.
said hot always flows to cold. That's what you state as the second law of entropy, Nathan. That's not
Second
true.
law of entropy.
Where's your proof?
That's not true. Yeah, I have proof of the contrary.
Well, what is it?
But you have to show
Out
the
with it.
string.
Out
So
with it.
is the issue the definition of entropy?
No, the issue is that
gradual-
he's saying something that's unequivocally not true.
Well, where's your proof? Bring it on. Come on. It's not true.
I mean, is that
Hang on.
not
So you're
something he
saying that
said?
entropy is wrong?
Well,
What I'm
apparently
saying
it is.
is what
Just let
Nathan
him show,
has
guys.
said. What I'm saying is that what Nathan has stated to be the second law is not, in fact, the second law, and is not true. Hot does not always flow to cold. That's what he
Yeah, it
says.
does.
So where's your example that it isn't?
Okay.
Hang on. If hot doesn't flow to cold, what do you think hot does?
I can't wait to hear this.
Do you think cold goes to hot?
I'm not talking about. I'm saying in every instance, that's not true. There are other instances where the opposite is true.
Okay.
Okay,
So
and I'll
let's
show
see
that
one.
to you.
Okay.
Let's see one.
I'm pulling it up here in a second. My statement on the second law would be that entropy increases as time increases. That's my statement. The other statement that temperature always decreases is not true.
Always. No, it's not always decreases. It flows from hot to cold. And that
We're talking
always
about
does happen.
equilibrium, aren't we?
Unless
guys?
you can prove to the
It's
contrary.
Let's just restate it as equilibrium, right? The temperature equalizes, pressure equalizes. That's essence of entropy, right?
Yes.
Unorthodox.
In essence, yes.
I want to see this proof.
I do. I'm trying not to interject. We're all egging him along, but just let there be silence. Don't feel, other people on the panel, that the pressure is on you. It's not.
Let's see here. Screen share. Okay.
Just let me know when you're ready and I'll put you on screen.
Okay, so I'm ready.
Okay?
What?
Okay, so here's an example of a horse running in a field. Okay? The ambient temperature is 76 degrees or 24 degrees Celsius. As the horse puts his hoof down, he's going to create friction, transferring, making the temperature gradient go in the opposite direction. It's going to go from cold to hot. His hoof to the ground.
But that's not entropy,
Cold
though,
to
is it?
hot? No,
We're not
he's
looking at
creating
His
the
hoof-
Hold
his
on,
hoof
hold on, let him
his
get...
hoof's
Stop
cold,
it, stop.
the bottom's
Let him
cold.
get to the end of his
Exactly.
example. Please let him get to the end of his example.
That was the end of it.
Oh, right. Really?
So friction defies entropy.
Oh, God.
Is it a natural law or is it a not natural law? Should it always apply or should it not always apply? Should
No,
we-
it's a
should we apply in this
ridiculous
situation?
example.
Should it
No,
apply in
just-
this situation?
Maybe I don't understand the example. I'm too stupid to understand entropy. Can you break
Yeah,
it
let's
down?
run through this again.
No,
But don't interrupt, please.
he's claiming that hot is not flowing to cold. That's not what's happening. There's heat
No, I
actually
don't
coming
think-
into
listen.
existence from friction. But that
Yeah.
heat will still flow to the cold.
Owen, let him explain it one more time so that everybody is absolutely clear on what Unorthodox is saying. Just let him do it one more time, please. Thank you.
Okay. So in this example, you have two cold surfaces, relatively speaking, the hoof and the ground. As soon as he plants his foot on the ground and creates friction, he's transferring heat from his cold foot and heating up the hot ground.
Do you
Cold
have the
to hot.
demonstration? Do you have the demonstration that you measured the grass and the ground at the moment the hoof touched it?
No, I would say this is blatantly obvious.
No, let's not go there. Let's just examine what Unorthodox is saying here.
It's not flowing
So,
from hot to
can I just comment quickly? You're saying that ambient temperature is equal to the temperature of the ground and the temperature of the hoof. Is that correct?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
And so you say that a mechanical action is producing heat. Is that correct?
Yes. Yes.
And that heat does what?
It's flowing from one surface to the other. Could be said to be flowing from the cold
Exactly.
foot
So
to the
hold
cold ground.
on. The heat flowing to the other surface, right?
Yes.
And that surface
Cold
is
to
cold.
hot. Yes.
Right. So that's exactly what Nathan was saying.
Yeah.
You're just restating exactly his claim.
Not only that, but as soon as
No.
hold on, Unorthodox. Not only that, but as soon as the hoof leaves the ground where it caused friction and increased the temperature, as soon as the hoof leaves the ground, what happens to that temperature?
I'm talking about an example that
Can you answer my
basically
question?
is that
What happens?
it does what in any other normal station it goes down,
Which
but
is-
that's not always true. You're saying it's a natural law. You're saying it's always true. I'm showing you an example where it's not true. I'm not talking about the 99 other examples where it is true.
Travis, hold on one second. Sam, if you don't mind, can you go through it again with him, please?
Sure. So we established that temperature is equal in the surface, the hoof, and ambient area. There is mechanical action happening, right? A compression and traction, right? That generates heat, right?
Yes, that's how you work against. That's how you
No,
create.
we understand it. Thank you very much.
This.
Yeah. So traction, mechanical action, compression generates heat, right?
Yes.
So then you saying that this heat that was generated is flowing to the ground, right?
Yes.
That is second law of thermodynamics.
So the hot
So
is flowing.
in order to combat the second law of thermodynamics, you have to do work, which is force over a distance.
Nobody mentioned work.
No,
nobody mentioned work. Nobody mentioned mechanical actions. We're talking about flow of temperature, pressure, energy, right?
Yes.
That's a mediation. Nobody mentioned mechanical actions, heating, cooling, extra forces. Who?
You just did.
No, we're responding.
I did not. I'm just following your example.
So it
The
flows.
two surfaces are cold.
You have
Sorry,
introduced
sorry.
a
It's
theory
just.
of-
I've got to get this. I don't want to do it 5 times, please. He's just
Surfaces
explained.
are cold. They're going from cold to hot.
Oh, he's just explained twice.
Is that really that difficult to
Oh
understand,
God,
guys?
he's so triggered he can't shut his mouth. It's been explained to you by Sam twice that it did follow the second law of thermodynamics.
It didn't.
Hot indeed did flow
It didn't
to cold.
flow your
You
interpretation
can't
of the
shut your
second law.
stupid
It followed
mouth.
the real
Whenever you're in a
second law.
corner, this is what you do. Your only reaction is to rumpus the hangout. So why don't you just have some humility?
You're stating
I still haven't finished my sentence, Unorthodox. Try to contain yourself. So, he has explained it concisely twice. Either you don't understand
What did he explain?
You're still talking. Either you don't understand his explanation, or you have an alternative, a rebuttal. Do you understand his explanation? Step 1. If so, please can you explain it back so that we know you do understand, because I suspect you don't.
No, I don't understand his argument.
That's fine. That's acceptable. Sam, over to you again.
Yeah. All right, let's try it differently. Nathan, anytime you've mentioned the second law of thermodynamics, have you ever implied, implicitly, explicitly, that a mechanical forces or generation of energy or heat prior to you mentioning second law of thermodynamics?
No.
Exactly. So why on earth, unorthodox, you bringing the generation of energy and heat?
It's a natural law. Does it or does it not apply always? This is a natural situation. It's a horse running in the field.
You bringing into the argument variables, right, that have no place in understanding of second law of thermodynamics. Nothing. Second law of thermodynamics simply states that a given energy, whether it's thermal or pressure, equalizes with its environment. That's all it does. It has nothing to do with generation of the energy, right? That's a completely separate discussion. You're mixing the two.
No, it's not. Is it a natural law or is it not a natural law?
I think I know what he's doing. He's kind of
Does it always apply or does it not always apply?
Sorry, it just seems like you're taking the first law and kind of applying it to the second law as though we're not in a state that has energy generation capable. So what you're basically saying, Unorthodox, is we would be in a constant, heading to an ice age. No energy's ever being inputted into the system, right?
But you try and use it in the example with Earth. Earth has energy being added to it via sunlight. So your example is pretty much moot, right?
No.
If you understand this.
No, it's not.
The sun
Not at all.
adding energy to the
He's
planet.
still
The
falling
sun.
from hot
Hold on a
cold.
second, Arrow. Hold on a second. The sun is the greatest entropy generator known to man. So what the hell are you talking about?
Nathan always talks about the Earth and the atmosphere as if it's in isolation. Like there's no energy being transferred.
No, he doesn't. No, he doesn't.
That's my point here. And I think you guys are starting to understand what I'm talking about. Your law.
No,
is
Unorthodox. I think you just proved
I'm
to
really sorry to
everybody
talk
on
over
the
you, John.
panel
I'm
and
sorry,
entire
sorry,
freaking
John.
internet
Sorry, Unorthodox. I'm really
that you
sorry
an
to
idiot.
interrupt. I just need to define some terms. You've used a word, so we need to get some clarity. You've used the word isolated. So do you understand the difference between an isolated and a closed system, Unorthodox?
Just the colloquial definitions. Isolated is isolated from energy or mass input, or not isolated from energy or mass input.
Sorry.
I think you guys are starting to understand what I'm saying here.
That was a bit
Cold,
too quick for my. Maybe it was my hearing.
hot.
Maybe hold on. Maybe I was a bit deaf. So just give it me a bit more
Excuse me.
concisely. What is an isolated system and what is a closed system?
I just told you, Nathan.
It was too quick. Maybe it's
Isolated
my
is
hearing. I'm
isolated.
sorry. And maybe it's my bad. Just a bit slower and grouped, closed, separately.
I'm not going to repeat myself again, Nathan.
Oh, okay.
Unbelievable.
So I think you guys are starting to get where the
No,
where the
I
problem
haven't
is
had
here.
a clarity
Everything
on the
you detect
terms.
isn't true.
That's my problem.
Doesn't
So shut
hold
up.
protocol.
I'll just have
That's
to
not a
shut
true
you up
statement.
indefinitely or kick you out if you don't want to define terms with us. We're in a debate. So do you want to define those terms or are you just not willing?
I'm not going to repeat myself, Nathan. If you want to repeat it, go ahead.
You
No,
only did
I
half
want
of
you.
the
Do you not get this? This is part of your argument. You introduced the term isolated. Now, I need that term defining for us to move forward. You can't just ignore what I've said. We're in a debate. God, what's wrong with these people?
I'll have to get it. Hold on.
You mean you don't
Yeah.
know
With
the
the straight
difference?
Jesus Christ,
I
is
knew
there
it.
anything
I
you
just-
know?
Yeah,
Don't
yeah,
hijack
that's what he
this.
was
Don't
doing.
hijack
He was
this.
solid.
One thing.
Why is everyone talking?
Look up
Why have we got rumpusing
everything.
from everyone? I knew it. So you don't know the
I just
difference.
said it.
So that's the
I
point.
thought you wanted like the Wikipedia
Oh, now he's
definition.
rumpusing me. Do I have to mute you? So you don't know the difference.
You want the colloquial definition?
I
or
know the difference. I don't
Wikipedia
want
definition?
anything from you. You're a moron who doesn't know the difference between an isolated and a closed system. That was my point. You've ably demonstrated it by saying, I need to go and look it up.
Nathan.
So
Isolated is isolated.
Oh, that's really
Non-isolated
descriptive.
is non-isolated.
That's
Do we
so
really need to
descriptive.
define
Very
that?
helpful. Thank you. So descriptive.
Well, don't sit there and tell me I don't understand it when all you
What's
need
the
is basically
difference?
the
That's
word
why I
itself
asked you to
understand it.
categorize them. Are you just buying time while you Google search it right now? I don't mind if you do, so long as we get to you actually defining these two terms.
This is part of what I was trying to say. If we're not speaking the same language, we can't communicate.
No, we speak the same language. He's just an idiot.
Well-
There's no way for us to
Well,
understand what he's talking about.
Hang on,
The
hang on, hang on.
Wikipedia- I was going to get the Wikipedia definition so we could all be clear on it. I wasn't. just gonna pull
Unorthodox,
something.
why don't
I
you
don't think we
actually
need to.
know
I don't think we need to
anything?
wait for you.
You
It's
always
been
have to look up
amply
every
clear.
damn thing with every question.
I-
Why don't
So
you
we can all
actually
be
know
clear on what it
anything
is.
by heart?
myself
Where
here.
is your actual knowledge, man?
I thought we were defining terms here so we could be clear. It would
Unorthodox-
help if we're all using the same definition,
Listen to
right?
me. Unorthodox. Hold on. I'm going to defend Unorthodox. He gave a definition of isolated. What he failed to do after that was define closed system. So he did do
Agreed.
one, didn't do the other. So I said a couple minutes ago, please finish answering Nathan's original question, which was to differentiate between an isolated and a closed system. So now go.
I might have misspoke. I'll have to.
Oh, you did?
I might have misspoke. Let me look here.
Okay,
We'll
before
find
we
out.
get there,
I'm not a dictionary here. Okay.
okay,
What I'm talking about is a system that is isolated versus a system that's non-isolated. I'm not sure if closed system is the proper term for that. I have to look it up and see. But the general idea, I think we can all understand. Isolated system is something that doesn't interact via mass or energy with another system. And then the other system is one that does interact via the system with mass or energy.
Sorry, just to get clarity, you said the other one. What do you mean by the
Yes,
other
isolated or non-isolated.
one? No. Maybe. So you didn't hear me.
Isolated or non-isolated?
That's not what I said, though, is it?
What'd you say?
Unorthodox. That's not what he said.
Well, I don't understand why you're trying to obfuscate everything. Why can't we just?
He's
I
not
think everybody
trying to
understands
obfuscate.
what isolated
He's
system
asking
is.
you the difference between a closed and an isolated system. There's
I
one other
just
system
said it
besides
3 or 4 times.
You can't shut up. You just can't do it. You crayon munchers are
already
all
did
the
it.
same. You can't shut your mouth. Right?
I already did
There's
it.
3 systems. You didn't do it.
I
You
did.
didn't do it. You didn't do it, you dumbass. Come on, man. Listen back to what you're saying.
Unorthodox, you didn't do it. You just defined isolated, but you didn't define closed.
I said closed is something that. Oh, I'd have to look up the definition of closed. I might be misspeaking about the terms, but
Really?
Yes, you are.
versus non-isolated.
I love you sometimes, Unorthodox. You are very
let's just
funny.
prevent-
I'll
let's
give you
prevent
that.
the conversation from
Your
moving forward,
stupidity and your lack of comprehension of your own stupidity is
I'm sorry, I'm not a
extremely
dictionary.
amusing.
What's the point?
Okay, let me ask you a question real
We're
quick.
defining
Real quick,
terms.
Unorthodox. let
You
me
don't
ask
know
you a
the
question.
point till you go and look it up. So go and look it up, and hopefully when you read it, the penny might drop.
Unorthodox.
Yes,
Are you,
the penny drop.
hold on,
not-
unorthodox. Are you equating unisolated with closed? Because those are
Yeah, I might have misspoke. And I'll clarify again. This is like the second time or third time I've said this. I mean isolated and non-isolated.
Okay, are you then equivocating unisolated with Nathan's term closed?
He hasn't defined. I haven't heard him define closed system.
He asked you to define
Oh my God.
You're asking me to equivocate it with something that he didn't define. How am I going to equivocate it with something that he didn't define?
Okay,
That
let's
doesn't
just
make
draw
any
this to a
sense.
close. Right, the reason there's an
closed
issue,
system
I'm just
is
going
a
to tell him.
physical system
If
that
he'll
does not
shut
allow
up long
certain
enough, I'll
types-
tell him.
So
He
I
probably
will.
won't. He'll probably be
Yes,
talking
no.
definitely. The issue with you comparing isolated with what you define in quotes as non-isolated is there is another system beyond closed. So non-isolated does not mean closed because it could mean something else. You don't realise that yet, but I'm helping you along. I'm kind
A
like
closed
that.
system is a physical system that does not allow certain types of transfers, such as transfer of mass and energy in or out of the system. That's exactly what I'm talking about.
That's an isolated system.
This is I just read the definition for closed system.
Sorry, you're claiming that a closed system does not allow the transfer of energy.
And mass. That's what he said.
That's the definition of a closed system. Does not
No,
allow
that's the
certain types
definition of
transfers,
an
such as transfer of
isolated
mass and
system.
transfer of energy.
Closed
That's-
system.
Hold
Oh
on,
my
hold on,
goodness
everyone
gracious.
shut up.
Consider.
He's saying that's the definition of a closed system. Sorry, I've got it on screen now.
Yep.
Show me.
Can you relate this to the bigger picture, Nathan? Because I
Just
really
don't
understand
take
where
off
you're going
screen.
here.
You've just
I do.
declared. Oh, he's taking it off screen. Why do they do this every time? You've taken it off screen, Unorthodox. Why would you? do such a
I've
thing?
detected the fallacy. It's a
Oh,
P is
I
Q,
just
therefore
said it.
Q must be P fallacy. What it states there very specifically, a closed system, and now listen very careful, in classical mechanics would be considered an isolated system in thermodynamics. That doesn't mean that it also counts the other way around.
what's the bigger picture point here? What's the bigger picture point? Why are we getting stuck on
Is
on
Q,
these definitions?
therefore not Q must be P. That's it.
I really don't think you need to understand this to understand Nathan's definition of the second law of thermodynamics is wrong.
Why are you
Things
calling
don't
it
always
Nathan's?
Well, I'll
Why are
explain
you calling it Nathan's definition?
Because
Not
you have
Nathan.
energy being
Nathan?
inputted into.
It is
the
Nathan's
flow-
definition.
Oh,
Because
you
it doesn't
can't
happen
do
like
it.
that in a
This is
typical,
why you
truly
remain
design.
eternally dumb. because you continue to talk. You didn't know the definitions, you still don't. You've got a citation that you won't clarify that you've understood the meaning of. We're saying that what you're saying, where you've got this citation from, is the definition of an isolated system. Now, there's some I want you to do this. I want you to clarify the difference between the two.
Between what two, Nathan?
I'll say it again. An isolated and, specifically, separately, not the same, a closed system. They are not
to
the
what
same.
end? Why?
Well, I'll tell you the answer because we've done this long enough. One has the input of energy, the other does not.
That's what I said in the beginning.
Yeah, whatever. Claim that you understood the point the whole time.
That's what I said from the jump. So your whole point in sticking to these definitions.
No, you didn't, Unorthodox. You're lying. You said they were the same.
Are you joking me?
You said they were the same. You didn't do that at all. You're a liar.
I said one's in isolation, the other isn't in isolation in terms of energy and mass. That's what I said. Now, what he said is the exact same thing. So you had no point.
Okay, no worries. No worries. No worries. Okay,
No
Unorthodox. So, what is your point exactly?
My point is that heat does not always flow from hot to cold. You are wrong, Nathan. Can I get a concession?
No,
that's not correct. That's the second law of thermodynamics.
You're missing the point of energy generation.
I still want to see that demonstration of cold action. Or
I just showed you.
Can I
heat actually gathering naturally.
Sorry, I've got to do this. I'll try and do it over you. If not,
I'm
I'll
only in
have to mute
second
the
grade.
hangout,
Can I
guys.
take it
So
real quick?
I'll try and summarize this. Right. The definition of an isolated system would mean that we were in a constant consistency and there was no energy being added to that system. So having constant decay and no energy ever being inputted into that isolated system would conform with the example that Unorthodox is trying to give. But we do have things that generate energy, obviously.
So your definition is wrong.
No, the production of energy is not defying the second law of the... I just can't believe this.
Repeat it back.
He cannot shut up.
Yeah,
The generation
it's a baller,
of energy.
it's a baller
He still talks.
They all got it.
I want to explain.
I lose my rag with them sometimes. Now, I'm not losing my rag. I just get exasperated. It's like you try and make your point to make it concise for the audience at the end, and he just rumpuses the living daylights out of you non-stop.
Yep.
Go ahead.
That's all they.
Nathan.
That's all they do. It's
nonstop.
not only unorthodox. It's not only unorthodox. It's a baller disease. It's called diarrhea of the mouth. That's all they can do.
I mean, I proved my point.
No,
I
you
mean,
didn't. No,
Yeah,
you
you
didn't.
did.
No,
You're an idiot.
well, you misconstrued. You misconstrued. It's not hot
Unbelievable.
flowing to more hot. What you demonstrated is energy being created by another source. It's coming into being. That's not the flow direction of it. It's just new energy being introduced. That energy is gonna flow from the hot to the cold. So you
Yes, that's the
completely
second
misinterpreted the whole thing. It's not
No,
a proof
Arwen.
against hot flowing to cold always.
That's the second part of the second law of thermodynamics. Is hot always flows from cold unless you do work, unless there's energy input in the system, like there is constantly with Earth and
No,
with
it-
animals.
The horse.
Unless, no, it always does that.
So, did the horse do any work?
Yes, friction over a
Excellent.
distance is work.
So,
Force over a distance.
So we're all in agreement about the second law of thermodynamics then?
No, you seem to be not in agreement, Nathan.
No, not at all.
Hot still flowing to cold.
So, okay, no worries, I'll lay out my example. So, we've got a gas pressure, yeah? That gas pressure, according to your religion, is next to a vacuum. There's no work being done. The pressure's there, it exists. There's no horse running around. The gas is just doing its thing, bouncing off each other against the walls, potentially, of a container that doesn't exist in your religion. And according to the second law of thermodynamics, it would flow into that lower pressure system instantaneously, given that it's 10
Unless
to the
there's
minus...
work being
Here he
done,
goes
Nathan.
again. given that it's 10 to the minus 17 torr. So we have a second law of thermodynamics violation known as outer space. That's my point. I assumed you came in to defy that second law of thermodynamics somehow.
Unless there's work being inputted in the system like sunlight, Nathan.
Oh, so the sunlight would mean the gas pressure can defy the second law of thermodynamics?
No, your example doesn't hold water, is what I'm saying.
Because of sunlight?
Yeah, the sunlight's being added to the system. So your example doesn't hold water.
To the system. Oh, hold on. To the system. And that would be what type of system?
Well, it would be a non-isolated system, right? You're adding energy to it.
There's two different... I tried to get this earlier. You just didn't understand because you didn't research it enough to know. There's two that are not isolated. Two. So when you say non-isolated, that could be one of two things. Maybe you'd like to tell me what they are. Because later, you'll claim you already... He's talking already.
Nathan. Why
He's talking
are you
already.
trying to misconstrue here? I said the exact definitions. I said that. Don't sit here and try and act like I
Yeah,
didn't know what I was talking about.
I already
That's
conceded
exactly
that you
what I
had.
said.
You claimed you knew already, and I conceded. So now I'm asking something else so that later you can't claim you already knew. Beyond isolated, what are the other two?
You can have them isolated from mass, non-isolated from mass. Isolated from energy, non-isolated from energy.
You're a dumbass.
Or a combination of
You're a
one or the
dumbass.
other.
Did you hear me? Deaf as well. You're a dumbass.
Maybe I didn't.
Thank you, Nathan.
Maybe I didn't.
Oh, I'll repeat it. You are a dumb ass.
Yeah, and your example doesn't hold water because you're talking about a system where energy is being added to it.
Right,
Your example
after again,
only
let's humiliate him
applies to
further.
a
Yeah,
where
yeah,
there's no
system.
energy
Yeah,
being
yeah,
put
that's
into it
right, system.
whatsoever.
Yeah, that's right, Unorthodox system. So beyond isolated, what type of system might we be talking about? I'm trying to give you some hints in the verbiage that I'm using so that eventually the penny drops, because that'll be very funny.
Nathan, I'm losing brain cells here, mate.
Okay, I'm just toying with this
Isolated,
dumbass.
Isolated.
And this is why I love him. He's great.
We please.
I know
move
it's so
on.
funny.
I'm
My
losing the
non
will
or my
to
colloquial
live.
terms are exactly what the terms are.
No, no.
Really,
No, you don't. We know.
isolated from mass or isolated from energy, or not isolated from mass or not isolated from energy, or isolated from both or not isolated from both. What system are we talking about here, Nathan? In your example,
Shall I
what's
tell
the
him?
system?
Shall I tell him?
In your
Shall I put him out of his
example,
misery?
you tell us the system.
Shall I put him out of his misery?
Yeah, he'll tell you that he told you before.
I know,
Go ahead,
I
tell
know.
him.
Open or closed.
How is that different from my definition of non-isolated versus isolated? What's
Because
what's
they're totally
distinction there?
different
What's the
to each
difference?
other.
Because there's
Open
three.
and closed are the antithesis of each other.
No, in comparison to mine. How are
Yeah,
they different
isolated
from
versus
isolated versus
non-isolated.
non-isolated?
Well, the two categories that sit within the external to isolated are the antithesis of each other. Grouping two
That's
things
what
that
my
are the
definition was,
antithesis
Nathan.
of each other together is wrong. And are you this dumb?
So do you not know what the actual system is in your example, Nathan?
I would assert
What
it's
system are we
closed.
talking about in your
Yeah,
example?
yeah. I would assert closed. What would you assert it is?
Non-isolated.
What? That's two things. We've just gone through this, you dumbass. So which would you assert it
Take it
is?
easy on him. Take it easy
Open
on him.
or
Are you
closed?
talking about the difference between mass
Yeah, I
and
know what
energy?
you're talking about. You're just rambling diarrhea.
Are you talking about the difference between mass and energy entering the system, Nathan?
Yeah, what system?
God forbid we
For the
try and
third
understand
time.
this instead of
Yeah,
just
you keep
giggling.
using this word you don't understand. System. Which one? Hey, physics warrior.
Hi, Nathan.
Good to
Hey,
have you.
guys.
Yeah, the point that you told me earlier that you were making the distinction for was basically exactly what my original definitions were, Nathan.
Oh, hello. Yeah, I'm bored of you. My kid's more entertaining than you.
Physics
Well,
warrior,
I'm
what's
glad that
up,
I can
man?
actually show that you don't have a clue what you're talking about.
Open
Oh,
or
good.
closed? I'll try one last time.
Unorthodox. Unorthodox. You make the globe look dumber and dumber every single day.
Every time.
I know. I put gravity into the little box you guys wanted, just like you wanted it. I did the demonstration with density and buoyancy that showed that you guys your understanding on that was just.
And listen, you know why I say that though. You know why I say that? Because you know why I say that though. I'm not trying to ad hom you. I'm just trying to say that you come in here, you're not prepared for anything. You don't know anything. You have to look things up all the damn time. Like, you're ridiculous, man.
When have I ever had to look something up besides today?
Every single time you come on.
Every time you're on the
yeah,
show, man.
every single time. Every
Give me
time.
another example. Give me another example.
Every single time you've been on.
One example.
Every single time you've been on.
Yeah, you can't think of one, can you?
Yeah, I can. Every single time.
One example.
My memory of you is directly
One
associated with, oh, I don't know. I have to look it up. You do it every single time.
What's wrong with
the first
not
time I've
knowing
seen you?
How does that? I don't understand what your argument is. Just because I don't know.
Because you come in with the confidence of a fucking scientist, and then you have to look up the definition of every word that is uttered by Nathan.
My definition.
That's ridiculous, man.
Your definition. We just had a difference.
No, he's not making up definitions. He's reciting the scientific facts to you.
You do realize that when you actually finish your study, you can't use Google during your exam, right? You actually have to know these things yourself, right?
Arwen, I forgot more than you know about physics, okay?
Oh, that is blatantly obvious. You seem to have forgotten almost everything.
Hang on, can I say,
Owen, give me a second.
Can I say one thing?
Unorthodox. Can I give you an example? You know how Riley was talking about the 50 millionth of gravity that Cavendish was trying to extrapolate? Right. You didn't know that. You had no idea what he's talking about. Yet every episode of this show, he mentions it. He spends about 15 minutes going through it. Every show.
And I've never heard
of it. You've been on the show, on the panel when he's done it. This is what I'm talking about. So now you come in here today ready to fight and use the Cavendish for your defense, and you don't even know this.
I didn't use the
This
Cavendish
is
for
what
my
we're
defense.
saying to you.
I didn't use the Cavendish for my defense. He's the one who brought it up.
Unorthodox.
Oh, you did.
Unorthodox. Can you answer me a question, mate, please? What's the circumference of the Earth?
3959. Or no, the circumference? The circumference is like 24,000 something.
900.
Do you know it in kilometers? Have you got an idea what it is? No.
24,000 something miles.
Right, and what's the radius?
3959 miles.
30,000 kilometers?
Yeah, that's pretty close. We'll give you that.
Wow, so you know something.
He does know
I mean,
something.
that's just such a silly thing. I act like I'm a dumbass because I don't remember the exact Wikipedia definition or term. What we're talking about, we understand what we're talking about.
We?
Dude,
Yeah,
you
I mean,
Lake
it's an obvious
Pontchartrain
what I
was a
said.
monument to Earth's curvature.
Are you a representative?
I mean, nobody. No, I'm talking about with you guys, both of us. We're talking
you're not.
about
No, you
isolated
can't.
systems
You can't speak for
versus
us.
systems.
You can't speak for us.
Nobody picked up on that. He said, "Isn't it obvious
Okay,
from
well,
what I've said?"
so you don't understand.
But I know what I'm talking about. Isn't that obvious?
What?
Oh, brother.
Oh, sorry. I
Yeah, I
should
mean,
have repeated it.
I'll agree with you. I might not know
it
every
was in the
definition.
diatribe.
No.
Sorry, Unorthodox. I did say it twice, but I'll just say it a third time, just so you understand. You are a dumb ass.
Oh, thank you. Yeah, and you were completely misusing the second law of thermodynamics, as I showed pretty obviously.
The Unorthodox, can I ask you?
You forgot every single thing that happened this last hour, haven't you?
I showed an example.
Your memory is one of the
doesn't
worst
flow.
ever.
You know what,
Always
Arwen? I think
impression.
you're absolutely bang on with that statement because it does seem that way. It's like, in drunks black out and then they have a fight and go home and wake up covered in sick and they can't remember the fight. It's like that. They get to the end of an argument,
I not
they've been
show an
obliterated,
example?
and they literally pretend like they haven't even remembered what's just happened.
I mean, did I not show an example?
Don't you remember? Don't you remember what you did?
It'll have
I thought I showed
amnesia.
that
No,
example.
let's see if he has
could've
amnesia.
sworn I showed
Let's see if he has
that
amnesia and brings up a picture of a horse. Let's see. Because he will now declare that he's actually had a victory. And by what he's just said, he's saying, haven't I just brought up an example? So I'm in no doubt that what he'll now do is bring up a picture of a horse, with an equation next to it and claim he's actually won. It is
There's no
literally like a
equation.
drunk with amnesia.
No, let's just restate it one more time, Unorthodox. You basically claimed to the entire world that generation of energy defies the second law of thermodynamics.
No, I didn't. I claim that heat doesn't always flow from hot to cold. That's what I claimed.
Yeah, and you then
we
brought an
disproved
example of the generation of the heat.
Yes, which is blatantly obvious to everybody.
That's exactly what I'm saying. I don't think you understand a single word you're saying actually here.
That's the second part of the second law of entropy. The first part is heat always flows from hot to cold. The second part is unless you input energy.
And then what?
Okay, we did this too. So did the horse do any work?
No.
Oh, it's a magical horse.
Did do work. That's my point.
Oh, it did do work. So completely and totally in line with the second law of thermodynamics, and in no way, shape or form defying the fact that if we had a vacuum of space, the gas would fill that space.
I mean, no energy. So how does no energy affect this situation, Nathan? How does something with no energy affect our situation?
Where is the work? Where is the work in the vacuum of space next to the pressurized system? Where's the work?
Heat.
Good
Should be
job.
another form of work.
Yeah, so we got to this stage last time. So now you're saying the sun defies the second law of thermodynamics.
I'm not saying that. All I'm saying is heat doesn't always flow from hot to cold. I don't know how clear I can make it.
Yeah, well, it
That's
does.
what you say, Nathan. Every time you bring up the second law of thermodynamics, you say heat flows from hot to cold.
It
That's
does.
your strict definition of the second law of thermodynamics. That's not true. That's a impartial definition. It's not a whole definition.
We are going to. The circle jerks get shorter and shorter each time. So let's try this again. Third time, it's got around real quick. Let's see if we can get this circle going at 100 miles an hour. So are you now going to put a picture of a horse on and say
I
you've
want to see
proven it?
that law-defying horse again, brother.
So is that
I didn't
what
say
you're going to
define
do?
the law.
So is that a
You're
yes?
strawmanning me. I never said he
Sorry, is
defied
that a
entropy.
yes?
This is starting to feel like a CERN experiment with all the circle going on.
So is that a yes? You're going to put your horse on and claim again, having had amnesia for the last, I've kept this show going 20 minutes longer just to demonstrate the amnesia that you are exhibiting. Horse then,
I never
yeah?
said that defies the second law.
So horse, yeah? That's your proof of a violation of the second law of thermodynamics.
I
Something
never
doing work.
said the second law was being violated, Nathan. I didn't.
Oh, you
say
didn't?
That.
Oh, my bad. My bad. Oh, we can round out, John. It's all good. My bad. I thought for a second there he was actually trying to defy this law that proves that space is fake. Didn't you get that impression, John? Didn't you think that was what he was here for? I thought that was his whole purpose in being here. I foolishly kept the live show going longer unnecessarily. Oh dear. Well, with that, I'll say first and foremost a huge, massive, enormous thank you to all of the live audience for tuning in and hopefully sharing this debate and annihilation of the circle jerk asshole dumbass known as Unorthodox. Also, a massive thank you to Unorthodox for giving us such massive amount of amusement during this last hour and 20 minutes. I've been Nathan Oakley, and I'll see you all in the next video.
Oh, what a day! What a lovely day!